Hello and welcome to the She Reads Romance Books podcast, the ultimate show for romance book lovers looking for the best books worth reading. I'm your host, Leslie Murphy, and in each short episode, I share my favorite book list of recommendations so you know exactly what to add to your must-read list. Join me as I explore the romance genre and have fun collecting book boyfriends along the way, because life is better with a love story. Hello, readers. So glad that you are joining me here on the She Reads Romance Books podcast for this episode where I am talking about romance books with pen pals. Books where the characters write back and forth to each other in letters or emails or possibly on an app. And it's this correspondence that really propels the story, or at least forms this initial connection between characters, possibly before they even meet. Now, I recently read a book with this micro trope and I loved it. So it got me thinking about what other books about pen pals that I have read and loved, or are there more that I haven't read and want to put on my TBR list? So this episode was born. If you love this micro trope of pen pal romance books as much as I do, then you are going to love this episode. Pull out your romance book reading journal so that you can jot down all of these titles. If you don't have one yet, you can easily click in the show notes or visit shereadsromancebooks.com to purchase either the printable version or the hardcover or paperback of the journal through Amazon. It is the perfect place to keep track of all of the recommendations that I'm going to share in this episode and others in the podcast. But first, before we get to the list, a word from our sponsor, a definite must-read romance that also deserves a spot on your TBR list. In a small town, sparks fly when a stubborn firefighter meets the tenant he can't control or resist. With sizzling tension, heartfelt moments, and laugh-out-loud chaos, My Favorite Hero by Melanie Moreland will sweep you off your feet, because sometimes the best love stories start with all the wrong rules. It's available now, so make sure you go and grab your copy today. All right, so this episode, I'm going to warn you, it's going to be like a speed dating episode of books. But to learn more about these titles, and for even more titles, then you're going to want to click on my link for the full book list of pen pal romance books on shereadsromancebooks.com. I'm going to cover a good number of them, but there's definitely more on my list, so you're going to want to check that out. So let's start with the book that probably first comes to mind when it comes to pen pal romance books, and that is, of course, Pen Pal by J.T. Geisinger. Now, I have read this book several times because it's honestly not a book that you can read just once, and you will understand what I mean after you read it if you haven't yet already. This book demonstrates JT's amazing talent at writing the most amazing plot twists of all plot twists. It's just so freaking good. The premise is that this woman receives a letter on the day that she buries her husband that is postmarked from the state penitentiary, and thus starts this correspondence with her mystery man, exchanging letters every week that grow increasingly more intimate until one day the letters stop and the man is at her doorstep. Now, that's all I'm going to tell you about this book, because there can be no spoilers when you go into this. Just trust me when I say it is so freaking good. And if you love books with intense chemistry, amazing intrigue, and, as I said, a plot twist that will have you rereading the book immediately after finishing it, then please read Pen Pal by J.T. Geisinger if you haven't already. Now, the next book on my list is the book that inspired this episode. I loved it so much, and I totally agree with the description of it, that it is Pen Pal meets Yellowstone. And that is the new book that just came out, branded by Saffron A. Kent, which actually it releases later this month. So make a note, branded by Saffron A. Kent. This book was just so good. I put it on my list of best romance books of 2025 already. It is about a college girl who starts writing to a man in prison for a school project until the day he is released, and he asks her to meet him in person. And against her better judgment, she does, and then she tends to get into a bit of trouble after their meeting. Now, this book has so much going for it. You get the pen pal aspect, obviously, and the letter writing portion, you should know, continues through the story, which I absolutely loved. So you get even more of that microtrope in this book. It involves kidnapping, forced marriage. He's an ex-con cowboy. She's a virgin. And if all of that doesn't really sell you on it, it's a really freaking hot and spicy book. This was my first Saffron Kent book. It won't be my last. I believe that this book kicks off a brand new series, so she's going to continue it, thank goodness, because I can't wait to devour each and every one of them. Okay. Another book where letters are exchanged between characters that I absolutely loved is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. Now, Dr. Brianna and Dr. Jacob, they both work in the same hospital, and they have this really bad meet cute that puts Jacob on Brianna's shit list, basically. But then Jacob goes and he sends Brianna a letter, like he puts it in her locker in like the doctor lounge or whatever for her to find, which kicks off this letter exchange between the two where they can share, some deep vulnerabilities. And soon enough, Brianna's opinion starts to change about Jacob. This book is an emotional roller coaster, like all Abby's books seem to be, which I love, and makes them all totally worth it. But I think the letter writing exchange between the two of them was a really great aspect to this story. Now, a throwback title that I read many moons ago that has this pen pals microtrope in it is Dirty Letters by Vi Keeland and Penelope Ward. This book is slightly different, but starts with your classic, pen pal exchange where two younger kids start corresponding through a pen pal program. Griffin is a young British boy who writes to a young American girl until one day the letter stopped. And they end up reuniting as adults and reprising their correspondence until one decides to make a plan to finally meet the other in person. Now, while I obviously loved the whole letter writing aspect to the relationship in this one, it also is a really great romance that explores anxiety and mental illness, which I truly appreciated. And I especially love the relationship between Luca and her doctor. But Griffin, the hero of the story, he was just the best. Oh my gosh, you will love him if you dive into this pen pal romance. Now, another book that I've mentioned probably a few times on the podcast because I just love it so much, that involves note correspondence, if not, true long letters like pen pals, and that is The Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. I just loved the unique setup of this romance where Tiffy is in need of an apartment, an affordable apartment, I should say, and she ends up replying to an ad for a flat share where she is going to share a one-bedroom apartment with Leon. Now, she's going to get the apartment at night while Leon is going to get it during the day since he works the night shift. But they agreed to this arrangement without ever meeting each other. Cool, but yet kind of bizarre, right? At the same time. Or maybe really, really risky. But they end up starting to write notes back and forth to one another, leaving them for the other to find in the apartment once they sort of switch shifts, if you will. And I just loved how Beth sort of changes these notes over time, starting with simple one-liners or short statements to notes where they are really sharing with one another. There are additional side stories that I think are really equally as compelling as the slow burn romance in this book, um, that develops with this use of these notes that I think makes this book one of my, all-time favorites. Another romance I had to include that I loved that includes letter or writing letters through an app is To Sir with Love by Lauren Lane, which is her You've Got Mail movie inspired romance between a woman who owns a family run champagne shop in New York City and the man she can't stand who is trying to buy her out and turn her shop, I think, into a parking lot of all things, or a parking garage. Only she doesn't know that she's falling for him because she ends up writing and seeking advice from someone she's never met. He's this faceless sir with whom she connected on a blind dating app where she matches with him and with whom she gets to know through these messages without ever exchanging names or photos. So you know where this is going to go if you watch the movie You've Got Mail, which is one of, Nora Ephron's greatest. Lauren Lane definitely does it justice. I thought it was fantastic, and I highly recommend it. Another romance book where notes/emails are exchanged in an app is The Casanova by T.L. Swan. This book was, gosh, without a doubt, a 5-star read for me. It was so good. It's a great enemies to lovers romance and an office romance. And another, I didn't know it was you I was falling for online while exchanging anonymous messages type pen pal romance book. So in this one, by day, Kate, she works for her company's, she'll call him insufferable CEO, Elliot Miles. Now, by night, though, she banters online with the mysterious and brilliant Edgar until she discovers that her perfect online match is actually the same man who makes her work life complete hell. So it's kind of this classic story of, can I reconcile the two versions of you that I love and kind of hate, though she really doesn't. And then, in addition to that, there is this really interesting plot twist that wrecked my heart, you guys. Oh my gosh. This is one of those books that I was bawling my eyes out. I mean, I understood what happened and why, but oh my gosh, again, I had Kleenex box right next to me. I was going through them like crazy until the happy ending finally came. It was so worth it. Such a great book. The Casanova by T.L. Swan, I highly recommend. Okay, another office romance with the pen pal type romance mixed in is Reasonable Doubt by Whitney G. Now, this is another one that I read, gosh, a long time ago. But I loved how this high-profile lawyer, who is also this incredible, playboy, right? The kind who he gives one dinner, he gives one night, but then says no repeats, right, to the women that he meets online. But then he ends up starting this correspondence with another lawyer on this website that turns into more than just sharing law advice. It becomes, he starts sharing details about his weekly escapades with all these women, and their correspondence obviously starts to heat up until the day that the woman that he's been corresponding with comes into his firm for an interview for the college intern position. Oops. Did not know she was in college. Did not know she was that young. Anyway, so read this for the age gap, the slow burn, the heated correspondence. I mean, all the good stuff if you love this microtrope. Those are definitely my highlights of my book list. If you love pen pal romance books, can't get enough of this microtrope. I just think it's a really fun and unique twist to, your traditional romance. And I'm so glad that I read Branded by Saffron Kent to kind of kick this episode off and inspire me to do it, because I just hope more authors write these kind, because I just think they're so much fun. So if you have a favorite, that did not make my book list, definitely share it to me online, send me a DM on social. I would love to hear about it. But until next time, I hope you pick one and enjoy it. But regardless, happy reading, because life is better with a love story. That's all for this episode of the She Reads Romance Books podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found some new books to add to your TBR list. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It really helps me reach more romance book lovers like you, and I appreciate your support. If you're a book boyfriend collector like me, then you'll want to join my email list so you never miss a podcast episode or a new book list. Just visit shereadsromancebooks.com/join and sign up today. As a thank you, I'll instantly send you my list of top 10 book boyfriends that will make you swoon. Trust me, you don't want to miss this list. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.